Professor Hyde continues to be an active scholar with numerous publications and citations from around the world. She is an expert on international election observation, election fraud, and the promotion of democracy. She has served as an international election observer in Afghanistan, Albania, Indonesia, Liberia, Nicaragua, Pakistan, and Venezuela. She has researched, evaluated, and promoted democracy with the Carter Center, the National Democratic Institute, Democracy International, the International Republican Institute, and the International Foundation for Electoral Systems. Susan has traveled far and accomplished much in her young career, but she remains closely attached to a number of her Linfield classmates, some of whom are here on hand to support their fellow alumni. Now please join me in welcoming to the podium Dr. Susan Hyde.
Wonderful, thank you. To the trustees, the faculty, staff, President Helly, families of graduates, and to the class of 2018, it is a pleasure to share this day with you. I know it's already been announced, but this is President Helly's last graduation as president, and I invite you to join me in thanking him again for his leadership and service to this college. It is an honor to be back at Linfield, to witness all of the incredible growth and progress here, and to see that some things are still the same. I do miss trying to pull off the purple and red color combination. I miss the long winter drizzle sometimes. And I'm happy to see some old haunts, the Blue Moon on 3rd Street I saw yesterday is still here. To Linfield's class of 2018, congratulations. I hope that each of you take time today to thank your family for their support and their sacrifices in getting you to this point. And if you did it all on your own, you deserve extra recognition today. When President Helly invited me to give this address, he told me he's made a tradition of inviting Linfield alumni to return as commencement speakers. And he suggested that I tell my story and to share a bit of advice. 18 years ago, I was sitting in one of those chairs, wondering how long the commencement speaker would keep talking. For the record, it will be about 12 minutes longer. I'm standing up here because I'm one of you, a proud Linfield grad, and in my story, I hope you'll recognize something of your own journey. I want you to know that on my graduation day, I had no idea what would become of me. I didn't have a grand plan. It was before I knew I would go on to graduate school, meet and marry an incredible person, get a PhD, be hired as a professor for my first job as an academic at Yale University, earn tenure there, travel all over the world for my job, meet presidents of this and other countries, start a family, and be lucky enough to find an opportunity to move back to the West Coast, where I now have the privilege to work at what many people consider the best public university in the world. I now know that Linfield set me up for all this and played an unexpected and vital role in my life and my career. Like many of you, I'm originally from Oregon, born in Klamath Falls. I learned to steer a hay truck and drive a tractor early on in life. I got to go fly fishing on the Williamson, the river that runs through my family's cattle ranch. And I like to tell people, I especially like to tell people to shock them at Yale, that in junior high, I was paid to trap gophers on our family's hayfields, $1 per head. My family eventually moved to Sisters, where I fell in love with the mountains and the outdoors, working summers at Black Butte Ranch and later as a rafting guide on the Deschutes River. I tell you all of this to say that I love Oregon. But when I was about to graduate from high school, I will be honest with you and say that I had big dreams of leaving the state. I was ambitious and knew that I wanted more. I had applied to schools all over the country. I got into many of them, but I didn't go. I didn't leave Oregon. It turns out that this place, Linfield College, offers some really incredible scholarships, which were really important for me and my family. I'll confess that I was still a little uncertain when I chose to come here. Linfield was familiar to me. It was where my parents went, where my parents met and married. I had a very close friend who was already here, and I worried that in choosing the familiar, I was missing out on a big opportunity for soul-shaking, life-altering newness. I was young and naive and from rural Oregon. What I didn't know was that this little college, in the place that I was most familiar, would be my door to the rest of the world. Linfield helped me grow in profound ways, made me strong, made me dig deep in ways I didn't know I could dig. Yes, it provided a great education, had small classes, amazing professors, had a pretty good football team, things you all know. But Linfield also gave me some unexpected lifelong gifts. First, as President Helly mentioned, Linfield gave me incredible friendships. 5 of my best girlfriends are here today. I think they're right over there. We lived together in various arrangements here as roommates, starting in Jane Failing and ending in a rental house on Davis Street. Some combination of the 9 of us have gotten together every single year since we graduated, so 18 years and running. In these women, Linfield gave me the gift of an even bigger family. Linfield gave me the opportunity to be a student athlete, where my cross-country and track coach, Gary Kilgore, he's over there, helps me get to know and occasionally conquer my demons. He taught me the power of having a mantra. I still remember the one he taught us for race day. I am smooth, I am strong, I am fast. I learned that self-inflicted pain is a remarkable teacher of focus, motivation, and a source of physical and mental confidence. To this day, one of the most powerfully formative experiences of my life was the Outdoor Environmental Studies January term trips, led by Linfield legends, now retired professors Drannon Hamby and Doug Cruikshank, who also let me join them in a summit of Mount Hood. Once you've survived for a month in the mountains in the winter, twice, once you've actually been lost in a January blizzard above timberline while towing a heavy sled on telemark skis, even if it was only for a few minutes, you learn something special about your own resilience. To me, that course was a masterpiece of liberal arts education and exactly the type of experience that only a place like Linfield can offer. Linfield also encouraged me to study abroad, an experience that set me on the path toward the research interests that have shaped my career, research that has enabled me to travel to the countries that President Hilly mentioned, countries as diverse as Albania, Afghanistan, Bangladesh, Cambodia, Liberia, and Venezuela. Perhaps most importantly, and the thing that shaped who I am, and that I hope all of you are walking away with too, is that this place gave me deep relationships with professors who really mentored me, sometimes with advice, sometimes with well-deserved public criticism, and often with patience for my mistakes. I noticed that Linfield's motto is now the power of a small college. I really love it. Captures the virtues of this place. My professors at Linfield taught me to climb mountains both literally and figuratively. They also made sure I lived up to my potential. Small can be very, very big. I wanted to share a few examples. I was a pretty good student, but the one time I skipped class on purpose in my life, my professor, Elliot Tanofsky, called me on the landline in my dorm room and asked me if I was okay. At the time, I think I was a freshman, and college professors were sort of mythical creatures to me. I certainly didn't think that they used the phone or noticed me in class. I never skipped class again. I can tell you with some confidence that doesn't happen, at least not very often, at the universities where I've worked. Professor Howard Leischer, I think over there, also sat me down at one point freshman year and sternly told me I needed to get more sleep at night after I drifted off in the front row of his class. I also once misspelled Ronald Reagan's name in a paper for him. And instead of just circling it and handing it back to me, which is probably what I would do now for my students, he made fun of me in front of the class. I think not just once. But under his guidance and under his hilarious toughness, I grew a lot less careless and took much more pride in the details of my work. Professor Dawn Novatsky, who I think is over here, she let me help her on one of her research projects along with another undergraduate student and took us to our very first academic conference, the American Political Science Association in Washington, D.C., the summer after I graduated. I loved it and had the first glimmer of an idea that I might like to go back someday. While I was working in my first job after college in Oregon politics, I came back here to talk to some of my mentors about potentially going back to school. I thought maybe I would go to law school or get a master's degree. But when I went to talk to Elliot Tanofsky and ask him for a letter of recommendation, he's retired now, but you would remember him if you've met him. He said, in his characteristically blunt fashion, "Susan, I'm tired of making lawyers. Can you please go to graduate school?" Let me be clear, the law is a great profession. I, in turn, have made many lawyers, but he could see something I couldn't and knew I had a different path and took the time to tell me about it. As a direct result of that comment and subsequent conversations, I applied to PhD programs, something I never would have imagined for myself. I got into a great program. I went. It was really tough. I barely survived the first 2 years, but I muscled through with a mantra, with the support of my husband, my family, my professors, and my friends. So, what do I wish I would have known back when I was sitting in one of those chairs, waiting for the commencement speaker to finish so I could get my diploma and get on to the celebration? 4 things. First, you don't really need a master plan for success to find your path, but some guiding principles are not a bad idea. I have some to recommend. Take pride in your work, whatever it is that you do, even if you know you won't do it forever. Be kind to your fellow humans. Aim for empathy over hatred. Call out small minds when you see them, and impress others with your hope, your compassion, and your effort for things that you believe in. As an educated person, defend science, reason, knowledge, and truth. You might not make a difference. You might not see the fruits of your efforts, but you will have tried. You will have stood for something, and you will have given meaning to your experience in your life. Second, lots of success is luck. Lots of skill is learned from failure. Remember this. Embrace this. Don't be afraid to admit you don't know what you're doing. Don't be afraid to ask for help and to use your network, this network. Third, when I was where you are, I thought that I wanted to be happy, that it was a good thing to strive for. I wish I could go back and tell myself, however, that happiness by itself is an elusive goal. Happiness is a strange thing that disappears if you look for it too hard. For many people, life presents extraordinary challenges, and happiness comes and goes at the strangest times. You can't control it. What you can control is who you keep in your life. The people who can make you laugh are irreplaceable. If you see some of those people sitting next to you today, hang on, don't lose touch. Friends who make you laugh can get you through your darkest days. Fourth, at some point the rug will be pulled out from under you profoundly. Maybe this has already happened to you, but when this happens, or when this happens again, you won't be ready. That is the nature of life-altering events. What I can say is that some people react to tragedy, to profound tragedy, by turning inward, by adopting a defensive posture. What I wish I would have known is that bending without breaking is a skill you must practice again and again. And your friends, your family, and your community can help you if you let them. I'm a researcher by nature. In preparation for today, I read and listened to some really wonderful commencement addresses. There is a theme in many of them, across many decades, in which the speaker comments on the unemployment rate or the horrible state of the world, and then tells the graduates to go out and change the world, that they can make a difference. This sounds pretty good. I guess. As a professor of international relations, however, I know that causing meaningful change is hard. I am often terrified about the state of the world, the position of the US in the global economy and the international order, the potential for a new and destructive war, and there are very good reasons to be concerned about the health of our democracy. But what I learned in reading all these commencement addresses over many decades is that there are always reasons to be worried. At the same time, as a student of history, I can tell you that we, and by we I mean humanity, have been through some very bad things before. You may be able to think of these things: slavery, world wars, genocide, pandemics, corrupt and vicious leaders. There's a long list. When times are dark, one can choose to hide in a zone of comfort and complacency. You can avoid talking to people with whom you disagree. You can retreat, stay home, tune out. It is easier than it has ever been to avoid the voices of people who are not like you, to steer clear of conflict. And in doing that, I think you are missing an opportunity to challenge yourself and be part of the messy, complex, and beautiful world around you. I wanted to quote my favorite writer, who I first started reading when I was a student here, Margaret Atwood. She gave the 1983 commencement address at the University of Toronto. In her speech, she lamented the unpleasant state of the world and Canadian politics in the 1980s. It kind of resonated with me. She said, "Things are, in fact, a lot worse elsewhere, where expectations center not on cars and houses and jobs, but on the next elusive meal. That's part of the downside. The upside, here and now, is that this is still more or less a democracy. You don't get shot or tortured yet for expressing an opinion, and politicians, motivated as they may be by greed and the lust for power, are nevertheless, or because of this, still swayed by public opinion. The issues raised in any election are issues perceived by those who want power to be of importance to those in a position to confer it upon them. In other words, if enough people show by the issues they raise and by the way they're willing to vote that they want changes made, then change becomes possible. You may not be able to alter reality, but you can alter your attitude towards it. And this, paradoxically, alters reality. Try it and see." I want to leave you with one last thing. Look up. Really, I mean it. If you can, look up into the sky. You can hold on to your hat. I mean it. I'm gonna wait until you're due. I'm a professor, I'm good at this. See, while you're looking up, that the world is so much bigger than you, than me, than us. And recognize that although most of our problems are too big for any of us to solve, it is also a certainty that things will mostly stay the same, or even get worse if everyone does nothing. If you are a leader, show us, use your ability for good. And if you are more comfortable following, pick someone who you respect and help them in their mission. As Margaret Atwood said, try it and see. And just maybe, you will contribute to change for the better. Good luck. Make us all proud.